Writing is my favorite thing to do.
Have you heard about the Gateway to Publishing Conference and Convention? They'll have writing workshops, writing classes, and more. June 16th through 18th, 2017 at the Renaissance Airport Hotel in St. Louis, Missouri.
Cool! Where can I sign up?
Go right now to www.stlwritersguild.org and click on GatewayCon.
www.stlwritersguild.org and click on GatewayCon?
That's right. See you there.
Right Pack Radio, a podcast produced by Winding Trails Media for writers by writers.
Writers, agents, and publishers, for the first time since the Gutenberg Press, find themselves lost in a maze of mystery as technology alters the shape of the publishing industry. Searching for Answers is a group of writers throwing pop culture, writing, and publishing into a crucible of clarity, passion, and humor. This group is the Right Pack. Welcome back to Right Pack Radio. This is your host and producer, David Allen Lucas, president of St. Louis Writers Guild, president of Winding Trails, and author of Crazy Things. Currently working on a space western that I hope will be out and about by September. I say hope because my deadline, my things keep popping in the way of my goals. So.
Oh, you mean like GatewayCon?
Oh, GatewayCon. There is GatewayCon. The readers.
You should probably come to GatewayCon.
Gateway to Publishing Readers Convention and Writers Conference, occurring June 16th through 18th at the St. Louis Renaissance Hotel. Come join us. It is a free readers convention or book fair, but it's also a writers conference. Check it out on www.stlwritersguild.org /GatewayCon.html, or just go to stlouiswritersguild.org and you can find it. You'll see a pretty picture.
Click on the giant blue banner.
Yeah, just click on the blue banner. No, I was referring to health issues.
Oh.
So anyway, moving right along, my lovely co-host is not with me today, but I do have the rest of the Right Pack. And I'm going to go straight to our Madame of Murder.
I'm Fedora Amos. I write Victorian whodunits like Jack the Ripper in St. Louis and Mayhem at Buffalo Bill's Wild West. And if you want to find out how to protect yourself from poisons, come listen to me at St. Louis Writers Guild on May 6th, 10 a.m. at the Lodge of Des Peres.
You can probably meet most of us in this room.
Yeah, I bet you could.
Yes. Also with us,
My name is George Soroy. I am the Vice President of the Missouri Writers Guild. You will not, unfortunately, be meeting me at that seminar because I will be too busy pulling my hair out and enjoying the wonderful Missouri Writers Guild 2017 conference, which is taking place at the Holiday Inn Executive Center in Columbia, Missouri, May 5th through the 7th. We still have several hotel rooms left. I look forward to seeing you guys there if you cannot make it to the St. Louis Writers Guild seminar. I also write young science fiction for the young adult reader. The first two books in my Excelsior trilogy, Excelsior and Ever Upward Part 2 in the Excelsior Journey, will be out into the world in May and June of 2017, and my completed 5-part serial from Parts Unknown will be out at a date to be determined.
okay, also with us is...
My name is Jennifer Sulzer. I'm a children's book author and illustrator. I've indie published my first fantasy novel, which is available on Amazon in ebook and paperback. And if you want a signed copy, you can order one through Main Street Books in St. Charles. Just go to mainstreetbooks.net, I believe. I'm looking at Brad because he has some sort of a vacuum memory that just absorbs these things.
Yes, mainstreetbooks.net.
Then and you can order one through them, and they'll do shipping and handling and stuff. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. I feel pretty good about that.
Aren't you also having a grand launch?
I am, but at the time of this airing, it'll be over.
Oh, will it be over?
Yeah.
So it was awesome.
It was awesome.
It was awesome.
Ran completely out of strings.
Brad and I engaged in sword combat over the last set of strings. So last set of thread for the Threadcaster novel.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Inspiring a scene in the sequel, I'm sure.
There you go. There you go. Now you got to write a sequel.
I was gonna do that anyway.
Plans and more plans.
Speaking of that,
My name is Chanel Etienne, and I write things including science fiction and fantasy, sometimes maybe.
sometimes maybe. Okay.
It's like a song. Fantasy, sometimes maybe. I'm Brian R. Cook. I am the author of many things. Do check out A Clockwork Heart and The Dragon Slayer, which are 2 short stories that are out. You can find them on my website, or you can find them for your Kindle on Amazon. And then you can also find my novels, they're steampunk, at bradrcook.com.
I'm Melanie Lucas. I feel guilty saying it this week, but I'm supposed to be writing sci-fi and fantasy and nonfiction. Haven't done it this week. That's it. Yeah.
There you go. Also, too, I just want to say, if anybody's trying to find my website, yes, all you see is a little pretty colored square at this point in time. My website will be up before September. I am trying to create a very interactive website. I'm taking it. I took it down and I'm just redoing it.
Are you gonna do an early 2000s era flash site? Like
No.
stuff and
No.
banners that marquee across the top?
No. What I plan to do is I will have my voiceover stuff on there, as well as anything related to the Hearn series and other books. Eventually, it will work that way as well. But have all the planets that you can go click on, and all the information you can click on. If you enjoy the story, this will be like a compendium. So, with that though,
See, he likes to overcomplicate things too.
yes, I do. I am known to do that. I'm known to overachieve, and then I'm known also to be extremely fracking hard on myself. Yeah, no, my wife won't definitely agree with me on that. If you can hear her, she's not even giving even a heartbeat break there. Just consider it. Okay, but we're not here to talk about being hard on yourself. That's another future episode.
That was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, there was that one too. No, we're going to talk about today. We were asked to talk about, by one of our fans, about technology. What technology we prefer to use. Why do we prefer that versus some of the other ones that are out there? And I'm going to also throw out there with technology. I'm not just going to talk about. Don't want us to talk about hardware. I want us to also talk about the software we choose. And when it comes to writing, there is so many different choices, both hardware and software, that we could choose. Be it, of course, obviously from the pen and pencil and paper.
Yeah, what other hardware are you talking about? I thought we all typed on typewriters like real writers.
Well, let me go with that. Talk about real writers. I'm glad you said that, because what I'm going to start off with, since you did that, is the master of crime, the current master of crime, who's, Brian just went out of my head, thank you. Kiss a Girl, Game Spider, the Cross series. I'm looking at.
Help you with this one.
Name to be filled in later.
James
Patterson.
Thank you, James Patterson. He starts off writing, at least all his notes and his plot and all that, with pencil and paper. We have got, of course, you talked about laptops or typewriters, old-fashioned typewriters.
Mm-hmm.
We have got out there people who dictate into tape recorders or dictate to a person, like Sidney Sheldon used to do. I haven't had much coffee today, people, so I apologize ahead of time. That's why I'm kind of sticking. Also, too, you've got, I'm going to call it a word processor, lack of a better way of saying it, version of a typewriter out there that can be bought for writers. You've got laptops. You've got desktops. You've got people typing now on iPad or on their pads. You have got various software that can be used. This is meant to cover all of it, and I have no idea whose reservation started, so I will start with the Madame of Murder herself.
Well, I just wanted to give some comfort to people who like to use something that's an alternative to the computer, because Larry McMurtry's typewriters just sold for like $40,000 and still writes on them, so he says.
Wow.
Tom
On
Hanks
regular
just put out that book
Yeah.
where every short story was written on a different typewriter, and the typewriter has some sort of meaning within the stories.
Oh.
So yeah.
So you can you cannot write in a way that's too primitive as long as you write.
This is true.
So where do you buy a typewriter that works?
Oh, actually,
Secondhand store?
I believe they call that the internet.
Yeah.
Go to the future to buy things from the past.
Exactly.
But where's another question? Where do you get the ribbon from nowadays? Obviously, internet. I'm just thinking.
I'm going to start with internet, and then I'm just going to move to. I'm sure there's places you can go.
Yeah.
Office Depot, maybe.
Yeah. Okay, Brad, you're next, and then George.
Yeah, so I guess you forgot clay tablets and scribing clay tablets.
Oh, well,
That's
yeah.
my preferred
Cuneiform
method.
writing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so fire me now.
Yeah, no. So obviously, yes, there's a ton of technology you can use out there. Just to throw it out to start, I actually prefer a laptop. The reason is, and it's very easy to throw out, I like to take my book with me wherever I go. And I don't know where I'm going to feel the urge to write. Sometimes that's going to be in my house, at my normal writing area. Sometimes it's going to be in a coffee shop. Sometimes it's going to be in a park. Some days that might be in my car when I'm waiting for something. There's so many places that I can find myself writing that the idea of having a desktop somewhere that has my book on it just does not do it for me. So the laptop goes with me on vacations, wherever I go, all that kind of fun stuff. And I actually like kind of a powerful laptop, but then I also do a lot of graphics and other work besides writing. So I tend to have kind of a beast of a workhorse, But that's me. That does not necessarily you need one. You just need something that's going to run whatever software you want. And we'll get to that later.
I am very much of the mindset of same as Brad. You want to be able to start writing wherever you are. You want to be able to just go ahead and sit down and just, get yourself centered and go ahead and just go for it. Yes, I've done a lot of writing on my desktop computer. That seems to be where I finished a lot of my works as of late. I finished the original draft of Ever Upward on that. I finished part 5 of From Parts Unknown on that. But the lion's share was either done by the laptop that I got at the end of 2013, or what I consider my baby, which was a netbook that was given me for my birthday by my parents. It was a Dell Inspiron Mini 7 netbook. And as much as I love it, I understand exactly how limited that little thing is, because it's not so much of the fact that it's a little netbook and everything. I actually got used to typing on that netbook really, really quickly, and I finished the second draft of Excelsior on the netbook when I was sitting in Central Park in New York City, just going ahead and knocking it out. And I was, got very, very comfortable using that netbook. I would take it with me to work when I was working at Top of the Rock during my last couple of years in New York City. But at the same time, I also, I also think that it's always helpful if you have a journal with you so that you can just go ahead and type, write out some notes. There is no way that I'm going to write anything very extensive in my journal. That is strictly for little notes, little bullet points only. The only thing that, considering how much my penmanship has deteriorated, I can, I can fill out a prescription pretty well, but that's pretty much it. So that is really what I would, recommend for that. So I would basically just say, if you have, a laptop and a journal just to, jot down some notes as you go, you can't go wrong with that.
Go ahead.
Me? All right then. Since we're all discussing our loadouts right now, my kind of, I suppose my advice to that extent is, my previous speakers, I also use a laptop to write, but that has a lot to do with how my writing process goes. And I couldn't do it on pencil and paper for real because I edit as I go. So my draft would be nothing but scratch marks with 5 words on each page because I've gone in and rewritten the same sentence so many times. I write the... what are we looking at?
No, go ahead. Just keep going.
You guys are freaking me out.
Sorry, I freaked her out by looking at the microphone.
You stand up and you stare at the microphone like it's going to eat you. Technology, you guys. Technology's weird.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
My favorite brainstorming tool is like 10-cent notebooks you buy at Walmart and writing in it in $1 gel pens that you get from the dollar store. So, and that's because my early drafts and all my ideas and brainstorms or whatever need to feel disposable so I can get rid of them.
Well, I'm a great believer in preparing psychologically for writing. And that is why, to me, the absolute best place is with my big iMac desktop. And when I go in there to sit down, I know I'm able to write because I am psychologically prepared to do so. And it is a wonderful place to write for somebody who is like me that does a lot of research, because I can put 5 pieces of paper on there and see each one. They're not covered up by one another, and really quickly change from one to another and get my research in there, and it's wonderful.
See, and going back to what George and what Fedora were just talking about here, that's one of the reasons why I love a laptop. I actually do not carry a journal with me. My journal exists in my laptop. My notes, my research, all of that exists within my laptop. All the photos and everything that I'm going to reference, everything will be in my laptop. And usually they're in, I'm pretty anal about my file structure and stuff like that, so I have a really robust file system. But it allows me to find things. But it's more that I have it all with me. I found when I had a journal, I used to keep like notes and everything separate. I'd take all that, I'd write all my notes down, and then I'd find that I wouldn't have all my notes with me when I was sitting somewhere. So at some point, before Iron Horseman, it was early on in my writing process, I decided to make it all digital and just go that route. And it's been intriguing because now it's all right there, at literally at my fingertips, and it doesn't matter where I go. So like when I was, wherever I am in the world, I have the ability to keep working on my novel, which does make me bad on vacations.
Wait! Authors get vacations?
No.
Sometimes.
If you take them,
You can call it that.
Yeah.
If you leave it all behind and somewhere else, you
Well,
get
an
it.
author relaxes by working on their project, so I consider it a very valid vacation.
Absolutely. So I have to be the spoil sport here, and this all goes back to a methodology that I can't remember who said it because my brain doesn't work that way. It basically, I think it's great to have like a setup that works for you. I think it's great to have a place and a time and like that mental sort of connection to I'm here, I'm going to write, that's my preparation. However, for some of us that doesn't work very well. And I read somewhere from some person somewhere that if you need to be able to write, you need to be able to write anywhere. So that if, let's say, this happens more often than I care to acknowledge, you're in a doctor's office and your doctor is running 2 hours behind. That's prime writing time right there. You're literally sitting in a lobby for 2 hours. But if you are of the mindset that you only write when you are sitting in your study with your desktop, with Rachmaninoff playing in the background and a glass of wine next to you.
I like that concept. Go ahead.
Then you're kind of SOL there, and you just missed out on a prime opportunity.
Yep.
So I totally love the idea of having that space set up, but at the same time, for some people that's that have that are busy and or can't get all their writing done in those settings, you kind of have to break the mold and be able to get writing done wherever you can. So with regard to that, I'm a fan of things that are portable, things that you can take with you. And for me at least, I have to depending on the way my mind works that day, depending on where I am with stories, I switch my mediums based on that. For example, if I'm really stuck at a point and it just won't go. I just can't get it out. I find that literally taking pen to paper really helps me because it makes me slow down enough to make a actual formal thought and make sentences out of it. Whereas sometimes if I'm so excited that my brain just has to go and run with it, I need to be able to write faster and I need to have a computer and be able to type to keep up with how fast my brain is going.
Excellent. Actually, in a way, you kind of you and Brad have both kind of opened up a door. I'm going to talk about briefly myself because I've tried different methods as well. Pen to paper. While I did write my first novel while I was 7th grade, 7 years old, 7th grade that way.
I was just 7 years old when I wrote
my premiere novel.
My premiere novel, which has never seen the light of day,
first meal in
and will never will. But no, okay, sorry. But of course, I am going to date myself and say computers were not as available back then. But
Certainly not to 7-year-olds.
not to. Yeah.
Well, a
So-
floppy disk would barely hold a whole novel.
So point blank, first off, I grew up learning how to type on manual typewriters. I started typing on manual typewriters when I was in first grade. Why? My handwriting had already deteriorated to beyond where George is at right now. Yeah, I have literally, and this is not a joke, I have had a doctor almost break up into tears going, how do you write so badly? How can I learn? So, I have, in my previous employment for 27 years, it was kind of iffy if you could really take in a laptop into work because there's stuff that was private, confidential. Even if you're not on their system, people look at you sideways. So now I'm going to go software briefly. I would use Microsoft Word at work, so that forced me to use Microsoft Word at home. And why I never got an Apple computer after my Apple IIe, yes, I just really dated myself, blew up my junior year of college.
No.
And I had that since 7th grade. Oh yeah, I had a project that I was having to work on for my education degree. There was a bunch of book reports, over 200 book reports. It fried the motherboard and the disk that had the documents on it at the time. And I had to steal my neighbor, not steal, I had permission. But I borrowed the neighbor's word processor. He was an attorney. I just borrowed that, and I, in 2 days, had to rewrite everything from memory, basically.
That was the old briefcase word processor?
Yeah.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Those were good. When it was the size of a briefcase and you literally pulled off the bottom where the keyboard was and there was like a 5-inch screen you were typing on. Oh,
Yeah.
the days.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There was like
Yeah.
a tan, kind of
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah.
Exactly.
With
For
the black
those
type,
of
yeah.
the audience under 30,
Google.
Just Google it. Be done.
Google archaic ancient computer.
I am really feeling old as I'm talking here.
No, I remember this stuff.
So yeah,
too.
have no
just
idea.
throw it back to old school technology.
Well, yeah, let me-
I don't know anyone who could have written a novel on those old green screens.
I did.
I can only imagine where your brain
That's
would melt,
terrible.
or into the early color where there was the two colored pixels.
I did.
Yeah,
I was writing that.
Switch back and forth. While
Yeah,
you're
it was
looking
just.
at it.
In fact, I took my old color computer monitor and turned it into a TV screen later. That's a whole different story. I'll explain to you guys off mic.
Well, I guess I should throw out my first computer monitor was actually a TV.
No, mine was
For
a
the
computer
Atari
monitor.
2600 home computer
Oh.
There you go.
that got plugged in.
There you
Games
go.
were so good. This is my favorite. You had to code the game before you played it.
Yeah. And anyway, but going back, because of that job I had at various stages, you were never sure when you would get time to write. So I did try to do dictation. And Dragon, as good as it is, and I do like Dragon as far as using it for nonfiction. Fiction, not so much, because my thought process doesn't work with it. But I would take a tape recorder and I would try to plug it in, and it would hear this, because if I'm dictating, I am moving. And usually I'm walking, and I've walked a couple miles as I'm dictating, and the voice just, and of course Dragon didn't really like that.
I like
at that
Dragon
time.
for live editing, not for what you were doing.
Agreed. And so yeah, I prefer laptop because A, I type faster. I can even type faster than I write, and B, I want to be able to read what I wrote, and if I can't read it, what's the point? And with that, I turn it over to Brad, then George.
All right. Well, I'm going to keep down your software avenue here. Jump into that.
Cool. That's what I want.
I'll fully admit I am a Word guy. I'm a Microsoft Word guy. I have loved Word for a long, long time. It is where I feel comfortable, and because of the things I can do in Word, it allows me to create professional documents beyond just writing that I enjoy. Scrivener is great. OpenOffice can work. All of these things can be good. Yes, the industry loves both Scrivener and Microsoft Office. However, I would say Microsoft Office is like the standard in the industry. It's what most publishing professionals use. You can get into the Adobe Photoshop suite for your layouts and all that kind of fun stuff, but that's publishing. For the actual writing side, it's different. However, what I was going to throw out is that we now live in the age of the cloud. So as much as we've talked about having your laptop or whatever and the ability to go around with this, the reality is in today's day and age, you can upload to the cloud and you can get it on your tablet, your phone, your laptop, your home desk, top, or whatever you need, and you can work on your book wherever you are. Personally, I don't do that. I'm from the age where, the cloud was easily corrupted, might go away, might not actually last as long as you want, or somebody would break into it. So
That can still happen.
It can, and does, all the time. But because of that kind of stuff, I am less resistant. That's why I like my laptop, and I don't actually keep my files anywhere but on my computer and then in my own backup drives. For various reasons.
I'm just going to defend the cloud for a
Yeah,
moment.
and there's nothing wrong with it. This is my own personal stuff because I'm a 90s kid.
Just saying that Dropbox saved my ass more times than I can count.
Yes.
So,
I'm with you.
So people who are a little bit nervous
Yep.
about using the cloud, understandable.
Exactly.
Just look at your options and decide what is risk reward.
And I will defend Dropbox and the cloud and all of that kind of stuff because having this ability to access your work from anywhere is a really excellent thing. If you're at line at the DMV or at the doctor's office and you got to sit there for hours, that can be a really great time, if nothing else, to do a little editing. But I will fully admit that I'm also bad in that I have been the guy at work who maybe would write when there was no one around, or more importantly, on my own lunch hours and breaks.
Really quick. Number one, I prefer cloud over saving it on USB drives. Why?
I know I'm going to ruin it if it's all up to me.
Well, USB drives, I've had USB drives go bad on me.
Yeah, this is why you
Or get lost.
So I keep all of my stuff on my computer on a backup drive. So my own computer has multiple backups of it on the actual drive. Then I've got multiple flash drives. I've got multiple hard drives. Why? Because I don't ever want to have one thing be the thing that goes.
I'm so with you, Brad.
Yes.
I've got all kinds of backups and external hard drives on everything.
Exactly, and then paper copies, because you never
Absolutely.
know.
How long any of these technologies will last is not
Exactly.
something we know.
I've already gone through CDs and floppies and everything
sure.
else.
I have a thumb drive story.
Okay, go ahead. And then I've got something that I'm turning over to George.
Yeah, but I was working on my master's, and it was only the newest version was only on the thumb drive. And I was working on a laptop, and guess what? The thumb drive bent in there. Now, did you know that when a thumb drive bends, it doesn't necessarily stop working? I found that out. Now, I also knew that if I did anything to it, it might suddenly stop working. So I very carefully got it onto another medium, downloaded it, saved it to a computer. And once it was safely saved to something else, I did mess with it a little bit. And the thumb drive immediately broke and was irretrievable after that. So, and it's not that I would have lost everything, but I would have lost several hours of work and trying to remember back through what I had changed.
And we've had hardware technology problems where a separate hard drive fell and broke and lost a couple of our episodes of Right Back Radio that we ended up having to redo or just say screw it and move on. Real quick though, talking about being stuck somewhere, and then I'm turning over to George and then Fedora after that. One of my great salves, salves if you will, for writing is this cartoon series that you can find on Publishers Weekly. It's not, when I say cartoon, it's, think of comic strip series called Tales from a Slush Pile. And it follows a group of writers. They go through different things, and editors and publishers and so forth. If you are in writing, you'll probably get a kick out of it, even though the main character is a children's book writer. So if you're not, don't worry about it. Still love it. Mm-hmm. But there's a couple of times he's stuck in an airport waiting for a plane. He's like, I can't write in an airport. Blah blah blah. Plugs his laptop in. Next thing you know, he's like typing away. And then now it's time for the plane. He's like, oh my god, I need to do this more often. Mm-hmm. So.
I've got some of my best writing done in airports. I actually can only write poetry on airplanes.
That's good to know. Interesting.
Definitely to stick on the software path. I have some hardware stuff that we'll get to later, but I do the majority of my writing on Microsoft Word. Mm-hmm. Just like you guys, I have it in multiple places. I have it on my desktop. I have it on my laptop. I have it on flash drives. I have it in my emails, where I send them back and forth to myself. Sometimes I use Google Drive. Sometimes not. It's just not something that I've really gotten the hang of using on a daily basis. But one thing that I've noticed is that one thing that all writers have a tendency to get plagued by is distraction. Mm-hmm. And so there is an app that's out there, that's a website that's out there that I would love to throw out to you guys. I've mentioned this website before here on Right Pack Radio, but this just seemed like an ideal place to bring it up again. And it's called Typewriter, and it's spelled TYPWRITTR. This is a free website that anyone can use, and basically what it does is it allows you to use their setup and everything. It's all cloud based, so everything that you save and everything, it'll be uploaded to their little cloud. You can retrieve anytime. From what I understand, you can save multiple documents on there, which is always nice if you're working on several different projects at one time. And the really cool thing about it is that it allows you to basically just bring it up to a full screen and take away all the tabs on the internet. So that way you are as distraction-free as possible. Because usually whenever those tabs are on the top of the screen, that's just like an open invitation to say, like, look on YouTube for something. Look on Facebook for something. Do some research on this, and here comes another rabbit hole. Whoa, there you go. But with Typewriter, it basically kind of takes that away, and at least it gives you the illusion of being distraction free to the point where you can actually dive in and get a lot of stuff done. It's worked for me on quite a few cases.
I'd like to talk about Apple and Microsoft. I started out with Apple products, which of course have gone through a number of generations, as all of them have. And I actually prefer it, probably because that's what I started out with. But if you're serious at writing, you're going to want to be able to master the Word document and the Microsoft stuff, because that's what they all want, the agents, the editors.
Right.
And you're going to be sending them stuff in DOCX almost all the time. Mm-hmm. So if you're only Apple, I'd say start branching out.
Yes. You can convert pages into DOS.
You can.
Yes,
you can now get Office on your Mac and all that kind of fun stuff.
I saw that commercial, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Very proud of themselves.
They are. There's a lot you can do. I was actually going to throw out another software. I actually just looked it up to make sure it still exists. I hate, and I will throw it out as that I hate this software and do not use it. However, I know a lot of writers who do, and that's Write or Die. It's actually a website. There's a software you can download too. They have different settings, but on the highest setting, the worst setting.
The worst.
Definitely the worst setting. Yeah.
If you the point of Write or Die is that it reminds you to keep writing. So when you take a break and pause and stop pushing the keys for a few seconds, it will give you a baby's voice or a train whistle, or in the worst setting, it will actually start erasing what you've written.
That's called
and
kamikaze.
then you have to start, kamikaze mode. And you have to start, it's a reason to keep writing. And when people have, like, I've known several writers who've had deadlines or they have to get a lot of writing done in a short period of time, it forces you to get that zero draft out of you. I mean, that's the whole point. The draft that's going to come at the end of the kamikaze mode where you're racing never to have a word get deleted, you know, that's obviously a horrible draft. But it's a zero draft. Words are there, and you get to edit them afterwards. So it's called Write or Die. You can find it at writeordie.com. And it's if you're into it and you need a motivator and you want a baby's voice to yell at you every time you stop typing, it's there for you. I hate the software, but some writers love it. They need that motivation.
You know, we're talking mostly about book writing. Let me just jump into script writing, and then I'm going to jump back out and ask the question regarding Scrivener here in a minute. If you are heavily into script writing, there are some script writing software out there. The one that's most recommended, and I have tried it. I've enjoyed it and found it pretty easy once I got the hang of it. And it is Final Draft.
Yeah.
There's industry standard.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're going to be a screenwriter, get Final Draft, fall in love with it, use it, because you don't want to learn on anything else.
Right.
Yeah, they're going to make you use it when you get to the big times.
And yeah,
if you're not in that format, you're never going anywhere.
Yeah, you don't look like you know what you're doing.
And yeah, point blank, if you're going to be a scriptwriter, not only that, but remember, you've only got, depending on where you're at in the process of script writing, if you're the originator or if you are, that's not the proper business term, I'm saying this for all writers to understand, if you're the originator of the script or if you're the reviser of the script that's actually on set, you may have anywhere from 30 days, that's the original, to less than 3 hours to do a full entire rewrite of an entire script. Love and fall in love and stay in love with Final Script. Final draft. I know, I said script and that.
We're all in
You
love
were
with it,
so taken by the love of Final Draft that you got her name wrong.
Yes, I know. And then she kicked me out of bed. Okay, anyway.
Yes, well, you know, you're married.
Yes.
Zing! Wife
Thank
burn.
you. I love my wife. Okay, moving on. So ultimately, regardless of what we are saying around this microphone, you need to find something that's comfortable for you. I didn't go down the road of Apple because when I started off, I did have an Apple, by the way. That was my first PC. But after it died on me, I stayed with the business type PCs and Microsoft because it was easy conversion. Apple and Microsoft didn't play well with each other at the time.
I've always had PCs because I'm poor.
Okay. Yeah, there's that aspect of it too. But you need to find both physically the hardware that you're comfortable with and the software you're comfortable with, and that can actually get it into the format that agents, editors, publishers, or if you publish it yourself, whatever platform you're publishing it on, is comfortable with.
And that's going to be a DocX file, as Fedora
Most
was mentioning,
likely, yes.
which is a Microsoft's modern file format.
Starting in 2007.
Yes.
Now,
And
Scrivener,
that's standard. So
Scrivener, and I'm going to have people jump all over me on this. I have tried to use Scrivener. I still use Scrivener from time to time, but I find it distracting. Unlike
And expensive too, isn't it?
And expensive,
They
but
have a free trial.
they do have a free trial.
They do, yeah.
But what I find with Scrivener is I spend a lot more time trying to figure out where to put my files, what my files really do, redo the files that they have out there, because I do characters a lot more in depth than what they have, which is fine. They're giving a template. And then it just feels weird to me when I'm trying to use Scrivener. I don't know. It could, and it's just might be just a me thing. So where I was going with that is you have to. Does anyone else find Scrivener?
Well, let me jump in with the Scrivener thing.
Please.
So I am not paid by Scrivener, but if they would like to, I will become your spokesman. But yeah, so what I find Scrivener really is useful for, because I do with Microsoft Word and my file structure exactly what Scrivener does. So I understand it very well. For those people who are not as organized as I am in terms of creating a crazy-ass file structure for your book, it is a way of gathering your thoughts. So the beautiful thing about Scrivener is that your notes, your character sketches, your chapter ideas, the whole thing can be put into different segments of notes. So if you've got notes for a certain chapter, you can attach them to that chapter. When you work on that chapter, it's right there. If you've got images for the book that you want to keep in your mind, Scrivener will keep them right there for you. I do that with files, like just in my computer. But I do have to say that Scrivener has that beautiful ability of kind of condensing it all into one place. For a while, if you were on a Mac, I have to say Scrivener was the best software you could use on a Mac, and is still really good. They swear that Office has no problems on Mac, but I have yet to run into that. So
If it gets run into the problem,
I have yet to run into anyone who's like, oh, it's so smooth and easy. It's just like using it on a PC.
You have yet to run into evidence to prove that is so.
Exactly. So, Scrivener does have a definite place in the market. I think it also then allows you, on certain machines that don't have a word processor, because not everything comes with Word, I have to say Scrivener is a lot cheaper than Word. So it's if you don't want to put Microsoft's Office Suite into your computer, Scrivener is a great alternative to that.
I tried using Scrivener when I was working on Ever Upward. I think it was probably because I started working in Microsoft Word on Ever Upward and then moved it over to Scrivener. And then wound up eventually moving back over to Word. It just felt like it was a little too... There's something about it. I think it was just the fact that the chapters are broken up into separate files and everything, and then you had the different sections of the chapters that are broken up into their own and everything. And I understand the reasoning behind that because it makes things a lot easier to move around. I think that when all was said and done, and I did have to take a big chunk of one chapter and move it up to chapter 2 instead of chapter 5, that definitely would have helped. But by that point, I had already gone back to Word. It was literally the point of no return on that. But I would like to give it a shot on my third one, Greater Glory, because I do know that one is going to require a lot more notes and everything. And I do like the different options that it gives, especially the little note card section where you can just kind of basically just do a virtual version of what other writers do. Just kind of just put it up on a board and everything and just say well, if it moves over here and this goes over here, and it makes things a little bit more interesting. So I think for this the third Excelsior book, when it comes time to start writing it, I'm going to go to that.
For my graphically minded people out there, Scrivener is a lot like Photoshop in the way that if you learn on Photoshop, you are married to Photoshop.
Yep.
And it is the best place you can ever be. You know how to do everything. You know shortcuts. You can make it, behave in a way that the normal person looks at you and thinks that you're a magician. You did that in Photoshop? Really? You didn't need a really fancy graphic software to do that? You did that in Scrivener. Wow, it looks so professional and perfect. You sure it wasn't InDesign? Something like that. I learned on Photoshop, and people ask me for recommendations for other softwares. I'm like, there's other software? Because I've never used it. To bring it back to writing, though, I've never used Scrivener. And so, what's even cheaper than Scrivener? OpenOffice and LibreOffice, which are free. And that's what I use. And I feel like I use OpenOffice to the same usefulness, to the same extent of success as people who use Scrivener. It's just what I learned on. So that's my 2 pieces on that.
And it's very true. And that's a very good point, because OpenOffice is very much Microsoft's Office Lite. So, it can do 99% of everything that you probably want to do. But what I was actually going to throw out is that we've been talking about, all these various different kinds of softwares to use. And I think most important to know is that when you start a book, it's best if you can stay in that format.
Yeah.
If you start writing in Scrivener, and part of the reason I say this is, as a guy who used to format ebooks, you're instantly inputting errors into your novels, like little weird things, artifacts, and other things that we would put into it that somebody like me used to have to go through and wipe out. I do have to say, Microsoft Office has made that really easy, because you can strip out formatting really easily in Microsoft Office now. So thank you for that. But yeah, so these are all things, it'll save you time and headaches later if you just use one thing to write in. you can change that into whatever you need. I mean, some places still accept rich text format, which just
I don't know why.
I work in
blows
rich
my
text
mind.
format all the time. I have to. I can't open them up on my Apple laptop. Makes it really annoying to try and work from home.
And PDFs are still, a huge part of our industry and everything like that. So there's a myriad of options for you once the document's finished. So however you want to create that document, just use one software to do so.
Okay, so once again, I'm being the slightly negative Nancy here.
I'm going to change directions after you.
Cool. There seems to be a lot of love flowing in the room about Scrivener, and
Not by me.
Not by me either, but it's all right. I understand it.
I get it. I really do.
Mhm.
It can be awesome. It just, however, there seems to be one very steep learning curve going on there in order to utilize it to its full capacity. Because I feel like if you're not going to take the time to actually learn what it's capable of, you might as well just be in OpenOffice or LibreOffice.
I would completely agree with that.
I agree with that too.
But in order to figure out all the little quirks and kinks that make it awesome, you need to literally sit down with the intention of, I'm going to learn this software. And some of us ain't got time for that.
I ain't got time. I know. I agree with you.
So I'm like, I get it. I think that's really cool. Some of the features I've heard about seem pretty neat in theory. Have I gotten to them? Heck no, because I ain't got time to go sit through hours of a tutorial to learn how to use this. My 2 cents.
No, that's very true 2 cents, yeah.
My character and my story right now would say, I have to acknowledge the carbon emission. It sure in the hell ain't going to work that way. So, yes.
Well, real quick before you throw it out, I want to throw out one more piece of technology because there are
So do
people
I.
who are idiots. And I'm gonna throw under George R. R. Martin. So if you're going that route.
Oh, go. Well, no, I was going to actually talk about plotting software. But go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So real quick, those who don't know, George R. R. Martin, he actually writes in DOS. The original DOS word processing.
He also
program.
looks like a cave troll.
Yeah. Understand though that somebody
He's making money.
House gets this creepy document from him, and then has to go through and retype the whole thing in like an Office software and turn it into an actual doc format.
How did he get his first novel published?
I don't know, because he did it before the age of when that mattered. But yeah, so use whatever you want, including the oldest thing in technology. The oldest actual piece of technology one could use.
And on that one...
You mean a hammer and chisel?
Yeah, okay. We'll chink that one out later. Chink, 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 chink.
Okay. Pain in that one.
Talking about software and where you can go if you want to carve it out in stone. No. We've talked about... Well, you can do this with Scrivener, obviously. We've talked about where we write at. What about software that helps us plot? Or hardware that helps us plot? Jen knows where I'm going to go with one aspect. She's probably already guessing it. And I'm sorry to our friends out there at One More Story, because they hate that piece of software, but I'm going to mention it eventually. But before I get there, I am known to do my books, or have been known to work on my mysteries on a chalkboard and treat it like a murder board, if what cops would use. In fact, Jen can tell you a story of when we were at a certain
I'm
coffee
shedding
place.
a tear right now from Wired Coffee.
Yeah.
Everyone departed Wired Coffee.
Yes, and
I thought for a murder board.
Yeah, Wired Coffee.
There was a lot of death there too.
Yeah, at Wired Coffee, where Right Pack first gathered, first time around, and now it's not there anymore. They had this huge wall that was a chalkboard. And I took advantage of it. It was a nice room we were able to sit in and write. And I was stuck. And I just started working on it like a murder board. And in comes the barista to deliver our coffees. And you just look, you can look at her face and just look at the look of shock and horror. And she's like, oh my God, I am seeing somebody plotting a murder maybe? I don't know what's going on here.
She should have known better.
She should have known better. But anyway. So you can do it in chalkboards or dry erase and so forth. Or you can try something like Twine, which is out there, which is free. It's not the only software out there. It's the only one I'm just really familiar with.
Free things are good.
Yeah, free things are good.
Nice string the software.
That's actually not... I don't think that's particularly what it's designed for. But
No.
it works really well for it.
It's designed to be a sort of an adventure game engine. So
Yes.
you could build basically an interactive online version of Choose Your Own Adventure Story. And if you want to see some Twine games, people can put in a lot of HTML coding and make a really impressive Twine game in the Twine engine.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not what I've used it for. And I taught a tiny workshop to the Writers Guild on using it as more of a pegboard. Using it very much the way that I plot, which is with cards and yarn like a conspiracy theorist.
Yes.
I remember that. That was fun.
That was a fun one. And
That's where I'm keeping my plot notes.
Yes,
So happy
she
to
says that's where she keeps her plot notes at. If you've seen her plot notes, which I know no one else in here has except for us, as far as some of the right back have, it looks like an airplane cockpit design schematic.
I was afraid. She opened it up and showed it to me in fear, washed down my spine.
I know, I remember. Actually, it's the same here. But it is a good one. Or if you don't want to use that, go back to the hard style of note cards and pinning them up. That works as well with little threads running around. You might look like Sherlock Holmes in Game of Shadows, but just don't drink like he does.
On the campus of the University of Mississippi is Faulkner's home, William Faulkner's home, and the room where he wrote all of his wonderful novels. And all across the walls, he has drawn a timeline and how the various families operated, because his stories run the gamut, from before the Civil War until more recent times. And it was just fascinating. And damn, I sure wish that I'd write on walls so someday they do that to my house. I love it.
Yeah, that would be fun.
It would.
An alternative too that you can do is, and we've even had episodes on this one. It's the Story Bible. The Story Bible is a big book, whether or not you have it in computer or
a series Bible, even,
right?
goes even further.
Yeah. Or you can have it in a binder or whatever. And it has all your characters from a series or from a story, all the background, all the notes, you name it. That's also another one. What are some of the other ways that you guys plot? Those, especially the plotters in here. Sometimes I write then plot.
Yeah, I'm definitely like a big plotter when it comes out to my stories, especially the Excelsior ones. And they're basically like I keep things as low tech as possible when it comes to my plotting. Like I use like either a notebook that I have on hand or one of the journals that my wife had gotten me for birthday/Christmas, and they're excellent. And the fact that I have different journals for different things, like one for my just for writing, one for voice work, one for dance, like all the other things that are going on in my life, like the fact that I can just kind of pick that up and just jot down things, works really well. And really for me, the only time that it really works, regarding the plotting is if I have someone to bounce those ideas off of. So my main, hardware of choice is my iPhone to call my editor. And so the two of us can basically just kind of hash out, especially for this, for the upcoming part 3, because there's quite a bit of plotting that needs to go into that before I can even start writing that one. So that's really where I come from with that.
Right.
Well, as a plotter, I have to say I don't really use that much. So as I've mentioned before, I have my computer. I will open a Word doc, and that Word doc then becomes a series of notes. I will then save as, and I'll save that doc, then I'll save as, create that same thing. Those notes then become the foundation of the outline. I'll mix in, and why I do it on computer and why I love to do it on computer is if I create a bullet point of say 5 things that I know that I want in my novel, I might not know when I'm at the plotting stage of the order of those 5 things. And on a computer, I can beautifully just rearrange them however I want, and then look at them and see the way that the story flows, see if there are any problems, see if that generates. But then, I've mentioned it before, I am clearly somebody who needs to wander around and think. I think better when something's in my hand. So, Dave and I have mentioned the fact that we are, swordsmen and stuff. So I am known to walk around twirling a sword in my house, thinking of plots and things of that nature. I will totally work on like my katas, or I'll practice as a way of thinking about plotting, because when I'm in the process of doing just nothing but sword moves, my brain gets all that time to just sit back and think about stuff. So I don't tend to use technology as much, but I do tend to use it.
Are you sure you and I are not blood brothers? There are times when I need to think, and now I don't have a dartboard anymore, that I will go through my unarmed and armed katas as well as techniques just en route in order to break through and clear my brain.
I always look at it as engaging my body so that my subconscious can start actually thinking about stuff.
Those of us who don't know how to wield a sword can just take a walk.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
now
famously in what is it? A Few Good Men. Tom Cruise walks around with a baseball
bat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same thing. It literally is the same thing.
Like, just go to your happy place.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do
And it's that having something in my hands.
The forebrain and get you out of where you were stuck.
I love that little fidgety thing that you see on Tumblr all the time, like the cube that's got all the different things. I want one. I would be so good with that. Just click.
There's something else. There's something else too that I'm now doing, and just started late last year, trying this out, and it has allowed me to plot entire novels in my head. Unfortunately, I can't write them where I'm going to be talking about. George and Melanie know what I'm talking about already, at least should. Oh, Melanie's, I'm surprised. Okay.
I'm sure I'll think of it once you say
I
it.
have come up with characters, have seen entire scenes in there and so forth, and when I need to...
Oh, now I remember.
Yeah, when I need to close my brain off and just be able to do it, and technically this is another form of technology, which is why I'm throwing it out there. I will get into a float pod. Now, what's a float pod? A float pod has water, nice and warm, has a little bit of music that plays for a little while. All the lights go off, all the sound goes off. You're completely away from all distraction, and you basically feel like you're floating in space. And once my mind calms down, which usually takes the first 15 minutes of a 90-minute float, it's amazing what your brain can come up with.
And it's salt water, so you're...
Yeah, you're in Epsom salt, so you can't sink.
It's a sensory deprivation tank.
Not really.
Floating, but usually it's down a stream.
That's a different one. And usually that involves alcohol. No.
It's definitely not sensory deprivation. I've done it once, and yeah, I'm feeling all sorts of things.
Yeah, it's not complete sensory deprivation.
Since this is about technology, I want to pick everybody's mind here because I just found something that's absolutely free because it's already on my computer. And I think there probably must be other hidden secrets in there that would be useful in one way or another, except that I just don't know about them. So if you know of anything, please let me know, and the people out there in podcast land too. But what I just found was that in Windows is a program called Speak It.
Yeah.
And what Speak It does is read text.
Yep. Yeah.
And a lot of my friends who didn't tell me until just recently that what they do is have Speak It on and have them speak out the words of the chapter. And Speak It will say exactly what's on the page.
Yep.
And so if you have too many E's in a word, it will say them, and you'll then find an error that you may not have known existed. And they swear by it.
A friend of mine out in Seattle, who is an independent author, he told me about this.
About Speak It.
Which
is in Windows. You all got it already.
Apple has an equivalent.
And what he does is he actually burns a recording onto a CD, and as he's driving around, he'll be listening to his book on CD, being read by the computer.
Those.
And catching those and realizing, oh, hey, I got a plot problem here or whatever. And I think, I have not used it yet, and that's something which I want to. But I think you can have it do multiple different voices somehow. I don't know the details.
I know you can change voices because we had David and Lisa, I think. We did have David or Lisa.
Okay.
I'm sure Microsoft Sam is in there somewhere.
Yeah.
I'll definitely throw out some piece of software that's already on Windows. If you go to the folder that says Windows Live, you'll see like a lot of you'll see a decent amount of different applications that you may not have known you had. One of them being Windows Live Movie Maker. And Windows Movie Maker is my best friend when it comes to any video that I've made on. That's I have a handful that are up on YouTube.
Yep.
And I've done a full, a very extensive project where I've dedicated specific videos to all of the Super Bowl champions from currently at 1 through 48. So I only have 3 to go before I have the whole thing finished. Using with each video given a song from a piece of music from my film score collection. So that's always fun. It's just figuring out like which ones to match up to. But Windows Live Movie Maker, very user friendly. It's already on your computer, and if you want to basically use that to put together your own book trailers, you can, and it'll come off just fine. I've done both of my book trailers through that.
I was going to say, I have 5 of them. You can go to my website and see them. They're all created on Windows Movie Maker.
Yep.
I've got several hundred because every episode of Right Pack Radio on YouTube has been made with Movie Maker.
Yep.
Terrific.
Yes. It is a great one.
Are there some other hidden gems in there anybody can think of?
There's, if you just want to write yourself some notes, you've got your memos, different ways of using that.
Post-its.
I
use
They
post-its
keep
a lot.
breaking the post-its.
Yeah.
Like, they used to be perfect, and they keep getting worse and worse.
And then on that note,
Blake, actually, we were talking about Photoshop earlier, and since we've been mentioning, I will throw out one of my favorite softwares is GIMP.
yeah, you've got me into that one.
GIMP.
GIMP. It is Photoshop Lite.
And it's free.
And it's free. It is
Free,
completely free. It is a beautiful software. There's a really high learning curve for it. But there's a ton of tutorials. And if you have any kind of knowledge of what Photoshop is, you'll understand GIMP.
My advice for people who are getting into something like GIMP or Photoshop or Maya if you're doing CG, anything like that, or even Scrivener. Let me put Scrivener in there. Things that are very, very complicated that you look at them and you think, how on earth will I ever learn it? Learn the thing you want to do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because there are 500 ways to do that thing, and if you learn a way that works for you, you can then use that knowledge to sort of fractal off. It's like, oh, well, I know how to get to this function through this menu. I can use that menu to do this other thing, and then you teach yourself to do that. So if you need to format your whatever, and you need to open up GIMP for that, then learn how to format your whatever in GIMP. And then that's a thing you know in GIMP. And when you need to do something else, you can say, I know how to do that in GIMP. How can I use the language I've learned using the software to try and figure out how to format this other thing that is similar but different?
And
That's how you
again,
do it.
Right Pack Radio, every graphic that we have has been that's not true. Almost every graphic we have has been done on GIMP.
All the
that
good ones.
All the good ones.
Just kidding.
No, seriously, because I started off doing it on Paint, and then
Which is a horrible process.
yeah, then you guys taught me how to use GIMP, and I'm like, oh, thank you, I love you, love you, love you.
Yeah.
So, final thought.
So just to throw out a couple of quick things here, there is a if you just want to use the most basic type of items to go ahead and do your writing and everything, there are two different things that are two different distraction-free tools as they promote themselves that are both like very much like in the same wavelength, although one of them uses the cloud-based technology and one of them does not. And apparently, cloud-based technology ups the price by about $400 because what you have here is there is a recent successful Kickstarter that went out called what was originally called the Hemming Right, but has now changed its name to the Free Right. And basically, what this is, it's just like what Brad was talking about, the big briefcase word processor. This is a version of that that's basically just like a tiny little case. It still has a handle. And it's like George Jetson bringing his car into work. You know, like that's that tiny little case that he's got. So that's basically like the size of it. And what it is when you turn it on, all you have is just that one tiny little screen. It's a decent sized screen. I want to say like less than the size of like an iPad mini. You know, like I would say like maybe a little bit more than the size of like an iPhone. But at the same time, it's a square screen and basically allows you to save your documents up to the cloud, but it doesn't allow you to go on to any other website or anything on the internet and get distracted by it. And that is for the low price of $549 right now on Amazon. Or you can do what a lot of other people do and get an Alpha Smart Neo 2 for $150. And the only difference there is that like the screen is a little bit smaller, and all you have to do is basically like to get your document from the Neo over to your computer is plug it into the USB, and that's pretty much it. So if you are looking for something that will keep you from being distracted, that is a good way to go. I would say like the Alpha Smart Neo, although the way that the FreeWrite is set up, it's basically looked at as almost like a conversation starter more than anything else.
And on that note,
Or you can
Tune in
just
next-
disconnect from the internet.
Yeah, there is that option too.
Airplane mode.
actually, I can't.
Airplane mode is a beautiful thing.
It's a
I can't.
secret thing found on your PC that you already have.
Yep, I can't. And here's why. Sometimes I have to double check my research as I'm writing, or I'll come across something. And sometimes that's me emailing or Facebook IMing a friend of mine who is a combat medic and going, did I just kill this character, or how do I do it? And he'll go going, yep, you just eviscerated him. Good, congratulations. The other parts are sometimes the YouTube videos are from the International Space Station. Like, okay, I have a character who is going to cry in a zero-G environment. That doesn't work super hot. It can happen. It doesn't work that well. Where do your tears go? No.
They stay in your
They don't.
eyes.
That's what you would have thought. What Fedora did, which you can't see, is was kind of drawing tears across, flying away from you and floating in space.
It's
Floating.
like a bubble around your eyes.
It's a bubble on your eye.
Water tension keeps them in
Yeah,
place.
Very
Yeah, there's actually an astronaut already had that. So
Yeah.
it's already his account.
Guess what? That's what I used. And then there's other.
I would
things.
also throw out though that I do all that with my phone.
See, I do it. I don't. I do it on the laptop because I can see it better. But anyway, what I was going to say originally is have a great week writing. Tune in next week for yet another interesting tale in the writing industry.
Did you know that Right Pack Radio has an international audience? How would you like to reach that audience in regards to your books, your book services, your author services, or more? Go to www.windingtrailsmedia.com and look under advertising for more information. If you don't have a script, that's not a problem. We will be happy to work with you. Once again, go to www.windingtrailsmedia.com for more information.
The new theme songs for Right Pack Radio were written and performed by Meredith Tate. All copyrights remain with her.